Thanks for listening to Bigfoot Society. I'm Jeremiah Byron. Today, you're going to hear a lot of accounts from all over the U.S., from people from really one side to the other. This is a collection of impromptu call-in encounters from the TikTok live platform. If you've never heard a collection like this, you're in for a treat. Now, these are raw encounters you won't want to miss, so stay with us.
Hey, Kate, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Do you have anything to share today?
Yeah. I was 9 years old. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. We had about 300 acres farmland, and we had cattle, Black Angus. Long story short, we would do these like late night runs, especially during the winter because it just got so freaking cold. And we get on the four-wheeler, and I'm 9, going out by myself because my dad was in college, putting himself through school. And I'll never forget driving out there. My headlamp I don't know if the battery just went dead or what. And no big deal, you know the land, you can kind of see the roundabout of the lights and stuff from the house, so you know where you're at. And I heard this howl, and we're used to coyotes, and that's kind of why we were doing these checks, was because of coyotes. And I'll never forget getting out there, and I heard this howl, and it sounded like somebody was whacking something up against a tree. And I remember just like all the cows were like terrified of the tree lining. But what was so interesting is that during the wintertime, they would always head towards the tree lining because the trees would help kind of break the impact of the wind. And I'm out there, and it was this howl, and then a whack, 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 and then another like a whoop, whoop, whoop. And I just remember thinking, that's not a coyote. That's not a wolf. We don't have wolves around this area. And I used my walkie-talkie to radio back to my mom, and I used it, and I remember telling her, hey, there's something weird going on out here. At that very moment, my walkie-talkie went dead. And I was so taken back by that because I had pulled it right off the base right before we left, or right before I walked out to get on the four-wheeler. And it's like negative 12 degrees. It's freezing outside. And the cows are all towards the front end of the pasture. I don't know how to explain it, but they were not towards the tree line, and they were terrified. I don't know how to explain. The babies were in the middle of the herd, which they do that as a protective instinct, and they wouldn't eat. They were not interested at all. And I remember my dad saying, "Oh, it's because it's cold." They're just picky because they're cold. But that sound, that whooping, to this day, I still hear it when it's dark outside. I hear it in my head. And I remember telling my mom about it getting back in, and she was like, that's weird. So we went out the next morning, checking on things. It's like 8 a.m. Sun's coming up, of course. And I'll never forget finding the tree because again, you can just, the area, the land. And I knew where I was, and I went back to that same spot, and there was this giant stick. It was like a log. And I wouldn't call it a log, but it was bigger than a stick. And you could see the indent that it made against the tree. And I remember telling my mom about it. That's the stick. She just thought it was nuts. And years later, here we are watching a Bigfoot documentary. And they were they had that whooping sound. And then they were talking about how they would use these sticks. And it was freaking terrifying because it was like, Mom, that was the sound. I was losing it. And she's like, are you serious? But what really took me back was it weren't feet. There were prints, but they weren't feet. You didn't see toes. It was like giant feet though, like a giant print. And completely screwed with my head. And I mean, I just need you to know, small town Ohio, my grandparents were Amish, for gosh sakes. We did not believe in this kind of stuff. But what got me so hardcore was like, I was like, we found the missing link. And it started this whole like, I don't know if I believe in Jesus, because if Jesus is real, why is there Bigfoot? You know? And yeah, it really messed with me. It messed with the animals. It like, and to this day, that whooping sound really gets to me. So lesson learned on my like whenever the battery went dead, I don't know I don't know if that was just coincidence, um, or what it was, but it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And yeah, I'll never forget that whole, and again, like this would be east of Cleveland, so
Okay.
but huge farmland. And yeah, I mean, people think I'm crazy, but I swear to God, it was Bigfoot.
Yeah, east of Cleveland has some weird stuff in it throughout the years.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm thinking of I mean south of Cleveland, like Canton and down there has
Yes.
some weird stuff too, for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah, totally. So the kind of whoop that you heard, was it similar to like something you would hear in a zoo?
Hmm. Maybe like something like like the one of the monkeys that go like oh whoop 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 whoop, like do like it was like that, and but
Like a
it was
gibbon? Yeah.
lower and it was deeper and it was like this oh whoop 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 whoop. And yeah, I mean, I remember thinking like, what animal? Why now? And I mean, in the cold, and it was yeah. Everyone thinks I'm crazy about it, but I mean, there were other incidences. And for the longest time, we would lose turkeys, but we never lost
Hmm.
the body of the turkey. We only lost
Yep.
the head of the turkey.
Yep. 100%.
Same with cows. Like it was just really interesting how it would happen with cows. Um, and lines from, oh my gosh, the amount of times that we had electric fence downs. I mean, no storms, no issues, but yep, there's a giant break in the electric fence, and we're out there the next day, and Dad is like, livid because how does something pull out, a pole out of the ground like the way that it did? And so we just thought, okay, maybe the neighbors were riding their four-wheelers too and didn't see the fence, and maybe they plowed through it and whatever. But it was like bent and stuff, and it was just so weird. There were incidences in the barn too. Like it was all sorts of stuff. But I'll never forget like running. I mean, you just know when something's behind you, or you just know when
Uh-huh.
something's like watching, and the amount of times that I would just run from the absolute barn to the house, terrified because there's something chasing me.
It
And how
was
do
really
you?
chasing you?
I didn't. I mean, it felt like that.
Yeah, right, right.
It felt like that at the time. I don't think anything was actually chasing me, obviously,
Sure.
but you could just tell that like something was behind. Um, And then the motion lights on the barn always going off. Now, again, those could be animals, but it was always weird. And then the prints just showing up. And I don't know how to describe them. Like, I remember looking at them and being like, that's a really big boot. That's a very, very, very big boot. But there weren't like like I didn't see indentions of like toes. But if you think about it, when snow kind of lands and melts and
Hmm.
remelts and stuff like that, it would make sense that you wouldn't see the toes. You would see a giant print, like a foot, like a boot or something of that matter. It didn't have the indentions of the toes and stuff because either the snow would melt or, new snow would
Sure,
fall.
sure.
So
How big were the prints approximately?
way bigger than a foot,
Yeah,
way
okay.
bigger than 12 inches. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Oh
Like,
no, it totally does. Yeah, I've seen 15, 16 inch
I was
ones.
gonna say like 14, 15, but I don't want to be dramatic because like again, you're 9, but I remember looking at it and being like, huh. Wonder what that could have been. And we never followed them or anything like that because, you're out there to work, you're not out there to chase prints. And there were things to do and, stay focused and that kind of thing. But it was like, to this day, my mom and I still talk about it. And we lived on land that it was a century home. So it was over a 200-year-old house, dirt basement. But we realized that the land that we lived on was Native American.
Oh dear. Yep.
And that was when I was like, okay. I mean, if you look at it, like if you Google it, I lived right next to the Slider Summit. We owned that cemetery. And so it was just, constant creepiness.
Wow.
But the turkeys, like my dad would be like, well, what animal would just take a head? And I'm thinking, like, that's a good point. We thought maybe an owl or something, maybe it was a bird. But, the turkeys were the closest animals next to our house. And those birds would let you know if they were pissed about something, if they were, they'd start clucking. And I remember thinking, like, if I was trying to do something, I would want the birds to be quiet. If I was trying to gain access, if I was trying to do something. And so, I remember thinking, like, what if it wasn't after the birds, it was trying to silence the birds? Like, what if it was, I don't know, though. I mean, is there any history? Like, what do they eat? Are they omnivores or are they carnivores?
No, they definitely are. And that's because there's multiple reports of them either eating berries or chasing down deer and eating the deer. It is an omnivore situation for sure.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, we had tons of berry patches and stuff like that, and it was just. But there was what else got me to was like, how when it's really cold you can't smell anything because your nose is your sinuses are frozen.
Right.
Basically.
Yep.
There was like it smelled like something died.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to explain it. Like died. Like, and I remember thinking like it wouldn't smell in the cold because the animals aren't really decomposing like normal process because it's so cold. And so I remember thinking like, what could have that smell? Like it was like a mixture of like sewer and like dead, and it just really like it was a smell. My light's out, my radio's not working. That sound and it only sounded like one, but the way it echoed made you think that there was like more than one. Does that make sense? Because the echo was
absolutely.
So
Yep.
yeah, it was like so like it would bounce off the trees. And again, I mean, I like pinpointed the area to the T. I remember where it was because I remember being so freaked out. And traced it back, and there was this stick just like right there next to this tree, and you could see the damage done, and it was really creepy. It was really creepy.
Wow.
And nobody believed me for years. They were all like, "Oh, you're telling stories."
Oh, definitely.
You're telling stories. You're being dramatic and all that kind of crap. And it really messed with your head as a kid because you're like, "Was that real? Was it not? Was it a fever dream? Maybe I'm insane." That kind of thing. And how does Jesus fit into this complex? And
it's a great question, isn't it? It's a really, really good question. And that all comes down to, I think, is how you view it. Right? I mean,
heard women on their menstrual cycle should stay clear to the woods. That's interesting. Wow. I never thought about that.
I 100% agree with that. Really? I will tell you, there's a lot of things that I sometimes cut out of the podcast that have to do with that, and that does play into things. It's come up before on the show, but there's sometimes where I'm like, this is just a little like.
Yeah,
I will say if that's what if you're experiencing that, I probably wouldn't go into an active area just because it like really brings them in.
Really?
From reports I've taken. Also, you mentioned stuff happened in the barn.
Yeah, like hay bales going missing. We would always lock up the bale or the hayloft, close the doors, that kind of thing, especially during the winter to keep the hay dry. And I mean, Dad, I can't remember even how many times my dad would be like, we're down to, we need to get more bales because were magically missing more bales. And it would be about 2 or 3 at a time that we would suddenly just miss. And it felt like you could see the remnants of the hay outside of the barn. So, we're thinking maybe something, I don't know. There was never really any serious explanation. My father is very, very simple, very, ABC kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Does not believe in anything that if you can't see it, you can't touch it, that kind of thing. And so I'll never forget, like, oh, there was always like a rational explanation. And if there wasn't a rational explanation, he moved on quickly. He didn't spend his time to mull over it.
Right.
But I mean, we took a trip up to Pennsylvania, and that, there was stuff that just, again, that same creepiness from, that feeling, you're just being watched and stuff. And I've heard that Pennsylvania was pretty active. But this was back in I was 9, so 1998, 1998 Ohio. Yeah. And,
Sorry.
yeah, they're
98
nuts.
was a good year.
I wouldn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
apparently somebody told me the other day, if you're 35, you didn't grow up in the 90s, you grew up in the 2000s. And I was like devastated to hear that,
Jeez.
because I'm like,
That's wild.
that's mean. That's so mean. Like, shut up.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, Kate, I mean, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming up. Is this a conversation that I can use on my Bigfoot
Sure.
podcast
Yeah,
I
and
have? Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
yeah, I got your email too, and I'll even email you some more other
Oh,
stuff.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, it was fun
Yeah.
chatting with you today.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for coming up.
No problem. Take care, man.
See ya.
See ya.
What a fun individual. All right, here we go. Hey there, how's it going? Hello?
Hey,
Hey there,
can you hear
sir.
me?
How are you? Yeah, I can hear you.
I live in Oregon, have for years, and in the Clackamas River area,
Oh, yeah.
I had a vehicle breakdown, and it was like dusk, and I was walking to get a cell signal, and I heard something like pacing me in the woods. Sounded like bipedal. It wasn't a cat or anything, and you could hear like sticks breaking. And I'd like speed up my pace, and it would speed up to kind of pace me in the woods, just far enough out where it couldn't be seen. And I'd stop, and I'd hear nothing. And as soon as I started again, here it would come. And it was like directly beside me, but out in the woods, maybe 20 or 30 feet. And I've never been back to that same place. It was called Peavine Mountain.
Peavine Mountain. Okay, I'm gonna guess it's around 224. It's east of 224. Okay. Yep, totally. Yeah. Okay, so are you aware of what 224 is called?
No.
Oh, this is gonna blow your mind. So, you know that whole 224 from Estacada to Detroit? That is called in Bigfoot circles the Oregon Bigfoot Highway because so many encounters happen on that road. You can get a book called The Oregon Bigfoot Highway, and it has encounter after encounter over the years in all those areas, including that area that you just said. So,
And
I'm not surprised.
my friend of my mom, he was in the Forest Service, and they were marking a timber sale or something up on top of Peavine Mountain. And he was waiting by the truck for his coworker to show up, and he actually heard some screams.
Mm.
But other than that, he won't talk about it. That was enough to turn me off on hanging out around there and the Skyline Road and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so I've I've been on I've driven through Detroit in July, and that is wild enough. And I can't imagine what it gets like on that 224. It's got to be out of control.
Oh yeah, and the evidence of like broken trees and stuff is crazy too. You
Hmm.
know, if you venture off the road at all, you know, maybe nature calls, and you can actually see like damage to trees and stuff that doesn't make any sense, and it's like up higher. You know, it's not like a kid from the city or something is out there twisting the tops of trees off. You know.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, you go into places like Estacada out in the woods, and you see stuff that just blows your mind. It's like it is not just a random person going out there and twisting all over the place.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Wow. I want to ask you as well, being in that area, is it a thing where you're hearing other people tell stories as well?
I I actually saw a cable program where somebody was out listening down closer to the Kallawash, which is off of uh, the 46 road, which is 224,
Right.
and he wasn't able to record anything that day. I think that was closer to Bagby Hot Springs.
Dude, Bagby Hot Springs is so crazy for, oh my goodness, it's so nuts.
Yeah, and it was actually on Portland Public Access, his show, and I wanted to see another one if he actually had some sound, you know, but I never found him again.
Oh man, do you remember what his name was?
I don't.
Okay.
It's been probably 20 years ago,
Oh yeah, sure, sure. Yep, I get you. I
but
get
it
you.
might be in the archives.
Yeah, you never know.
No.
Maybe someone can find it. I'll have to take a look. Man, it's so good to talk to people that are actually out in this area. It's such a wild, wild area. Um, y- you know, this conversation we've had, is it one where I can use it for my Bigfoot podcast as well?
Oh, sure. No
Okay,
problem.
cool, cool. I appreciate that. It really helps a lot of people that are from this area kind of open up once they hear someone else talking about it. So,
And I believe I heard somebody talking about knocking in the
mhm.
not the Peavine area, but closer to like the Clackamas Ranger Station or the old Ranger Station and Timothy
Ripplebrook?
Lake. No, not Ripplebrook,
No,
but
okay.
up on the 42 road, there was actually a Clackamas Ranger Station, which was just like a cabin, and then they had some cabins for the help,
Oh
and it's
wow.
right next to Timothy Lake. I've heard
That's a
about
hot spot too.
yeah, I've heard about knocking around the Clackamas cabin there.
Oh, absolutely. Um, in that book I told you about, there's a part where they talk about, so you know how Ripplebrook had the ranger station too?
Yeah.
Okay. Allegedly, the story goes is that at that ranger station, there was a book that they kept where they wrote down all the Bigfoot sightings that got reported.
Oh
But
man.
it might just be a story, or it could be true. Who knows? But that book is a really good read if you're interested in that area. I would look into it.
Oh man. And that I think I will. And that ranger station is no longer there. So
Okay, gotcha.
if they had like doc or notations about sightings and stuff, it would have probably been destroyed in that forest fire.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, that's too bad. Yep. 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 Wow.
And
Hmm.
that same guy that told me about hearing things up there and turned white and didn't want to talk about it, he was actually stationed at Ripplebrook, and he lived right up behind Ripplebrook in the Forest Service housing.
Oh
And
man.
I'll have to ask him about that, because he was always, most of the time, he was in the office.
Yeah, I mean, if you could reach out to him, and I mean, if he does want to talk to someone, even off record, I'd love to talk to him. My email is bigfootsociety@gmail.com.
Oh, perfect. I'll let him know.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for coming up, sir. It's been a fun conversation.
You bet. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. Man, good chats today so far. Hey Bob, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Um,
What brings you up?
I talked with you several months back, and I had taken my 9-year-old granddaughter at the time, and we were out in my side by side, and we were riding through some farm fields that had been planted with corn, and it's next to a big swamp. And we came up to a place that was, they'd missed like 3 or 4 ears of corn. So I pulled up, and as soon as I stopped, I smelled just the most horrific odor. And I looked in the woods, and you couldn't see into the woods for all the weeds and vegetation. So I'm grabbing an ear of corn, handing my granddaughter, and all of a sudden, a stick comes flying out of the woods about 10 feet behind us. And with the smell and seeing that stick coming out of the woods, I just stomped on the gas and we were gone.
Mm.
But I know it don't sound like much, but it was definitely something. And I went back there just a short while later, and the odor was gone, and there was no sign of anything.
Oof. I mean, that's enough to scare you, though. That's extremely wild. Are you able to share what area of the country that was in?
West Tennessee.
West Tennessee. All right, gotcha.
I live at
Wow.
a little town called Huntington, and we were no more. If you're on the highway, we wasn't more than 5 minutes out of town, but it's a big swamp on both sides of the road, right by a major highway.
Are there other people that have had things happen in the same area?
I don't know. I haven't.
Okay.
I know. I don't know if it's unusual or not, but I hear a lot of hoot owls all day long, middle of the day, late morning, early afternoon, and of course late early in the morning at dark. But they just don't sound right.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what do they what sounds off about them?
They just, well, I never knew hoot owls hooted like that all day long.
Hmm.
I always thought it was early in the morning, late in the evening.
Gotcha. It- They sounded besides the time of day, did they sound like normal owls, or did anything about them
Well,
sound
they
weird?
they they sounded a little off. They sound real close, but just a little off. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Sure. No, I gotcha. That is one of the patterns that you hear. Sometimes you hear owls, sometimes they hear off. They sound off. They're too big. The end of the call will sound a little weird. Things like that. Um, wow, Bob, thank you for coming up and for sharing again. Is this a conversation that I can share on my podcast as well?
Yes, of course.
All right. Thank you, sir. Keep us in the loop if things continue to happen.
Okay.
Hey, Scotty, how are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, man?
Doing great. What brings you up again?
Well, I've been watching your show and I've just seen a lot of people talking about all the things that they've witnessed, and it just made me I've been commenting down there, in the chat, and people say, like, why, when you saw yours, why didn't you shoot it? And it makes me think, like, these things are too human-like. Because when I saw mine, I was just a teenager. Like I said, I was out in the woods. We were camping, and there I was, just standing out there in the woods, and it was just out there in the middle of the field. And this thing ran out and grabbed a wild hog,
Right.
and it was just holding it. And I'm thinking, this thing had to be super intelligent and super strong to even do that. I mean, the way it scooped down with one arm and just grabbed it, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And that's what keeps me interested in Sasquatch, Bigfoot phenomena. Because once you see something like that, it kind of sticks with you, And it's not something that I just talk about all the time. When I watch your show, it feels like I'm more comfortable because I hear a lot of people coming about with their experiences, and it just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable to just talk about it. They're very, it just makes me have all these questions. And I think that's why it's such a popular thing now, because more people are seeing them, and there's more, like, everybody always asks, well, where's the real evidence? Well, the real evidence it's everywhere. I mean, we're surrounded by cameras, even if it's not your personal camera that you're holding in your hand. We're surrounded by cameras everywhere. Now, even if you're in the middle of the woods, there's deer cameras and things, that people get for animals, livestock, or what have you. But when you see something like that, it's something that you will never forget, And here I am. I was raised out here in East Texas, and you grow up, and I don't care what part of the country you're at, there's always somebody with a story about something that they saw they couldn't explain.
Absolutely.
And I just want to get on here and just say I appreciate you, keeping the conversation going, because more people need to talk about this. I think you have a really interesting show here, and I think if more people talk about it and we could understand these things a little bit better. I don't know if the one that I saw was just so big, and it didn't seem like it was trying to come after me. It was going after, obviously, the wildlife of the area. And I'll never forget it. It kind of walked out there, and it's almost like it was running, but it was walking. I can't explain the way. The gait wasn't human. And then, like I said, back then, you couldn't just get on your cell phone and Google, well, what's this thing about? You had to go to the library. I'm giving away my age a little bit here, right?
It was a different world, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to the library, and I'm looking up, like, what is this? Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and then it came up, and I found out about the Patterson-Gimli thing, and that's when I saw that, just like I told you last time, when I saw that, just the picture of that one, I was blown away. I said, that's it. That's exactly what I saw right there. And that's why, like, I've seen, just like anybody who's done their research in this field, you've probably seen hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures and videos. But that footage right there is still, and that's taken in the 60s. And, we talk about the research and everything that has been done to that film, just meticulously, scientifically, everything. And you can just tell that that's real muscle underneath that hair moving. And the technology just did not exist back in the 60s to create such an image. And yeah, I saw mine at sunset, but that's what I saw. And then later, being able to see the full video and how it's been analyzed and zoomed in, and with, with way more clarity today, different types of resolution and how they've studied it, you can just see that that's what it is. There's something that we don't know that's apparently living out there that's very intelligent. And somebody come on here and said, well, they probably bury their own. And I don't know how far, I don't know. I think you've done a lot of research into this, but I was going to ask you, what do you think? Why do you think we haven't had somebody just come out with a body that's maybe shot one or maybe, caught one? Obviously, once you see something, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's real. This is real. And you're just wondering, like, man, like what? Why hasn't there been? And then I think, not to just ramble on here, but I start to think, well, maybe this is something that the public's not ready for.
Yeah, I mean, great question. Hold on here. There we go. So to tell you the truth, I've heard accounts off air, off record, um, well, from Oregon from the last year where they have found bodies and they've been confiscated, to be honest. So I think we're close. A lot of people, um, the theory is that you're not finding bones and you're not finding bodies because when something passes away in the forest, it is disposed of quickly by other animals that pretty much eat the bones, right?
Right.
So it's a good question. Definitely is. And a lot of people also hold to they bury their dead. Um, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I might need to, hear some more accounts. So I'm not sure how I feel about that one yet. But yeah, I just appreciate you coming up and your kind words. Thank you. And is it okay if I use this conversation as well on the podcast?
Oh, sure. As always, I
Awesome.
just really appreciate your show and what you're doing, and I'll continue to listen and watch.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Scotty.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Mike's coming up again.
Hey, brother.
Mike, good to hear from you again. How's it going?
Oh, definitely good to hear from you, brother. I won't take up too much time. I know we got like 300 people in a room, and there's probably somebody that's got something more interesting than what I got to say. But Kai, that was up in Weldon Springs, Missouri,
Yes.
at Bush Wildlife.
Yeah.
I'm from around that area, and I took an encounter from a friend of mine about 8.5 years ago, and he was up there on Lake 10. So if there's anybody from Missouri that knows where Bush Wildlife is and you know where Lake 10 is, you know that it's a really squatchy area. And he was watching something. He just seen it out of the corner of his eye. He said it kind of like put its head up and then put its head down and then put its head up, put its head down. And one time when it put its head up, he looked right at it. And he said that the way it looked, he said it looked like a cross between a human and a primate. He said you could see humanity in its eyes, but you could tell that it just didn't lie within this thing. And so I just wanted to back Kai up on that 110%, that whole area where he was at is extremely squatchy, and there are sightings that go back from the time that Weldon Springs was founded. So.
Oh, wow. That is great to have that collaborating story. Mike, I appreciate it. I love hearing stuff like that where it just, goes hand in hand like that. Thank you for coming up, man. Do you mind if I use this audio as well for the podcast?
Oh, I don't care, man. Go ahead.
All right, cool.
All right,
Cool.
I'll
Thanks,
bounce out
Mike.
and I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Good stuff. Hey, Faceless, how are you?
Not too bad. How's it going, man?
Hey, doing great.
So,
Do you have a Bigfoot experience to share, sir?
well, everybody says I do, but
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of a I'm kind of a skeptic. I'm the kind of person, I believe in ghosts. I believe in, those things, but it's because of personal experience. I've actually seen or been part of. So I'm the kind of guy, even believing in stuff, I walk into a house, you say it's haunted, I'm looking automatically for things that could cause, electromagnetic fields too close to, old horsehair wires, things, reasons why they think it is. But I was about an hour and a half north of the Finger Lakes in upstate New York.
Yeah.
And the people that I had driven up there put me up in a house. I had the whole thing to myself. It was like a little island, other than the driveway that they had built to go into it. And there was a little gazebo and sitting area and stuff. And the first day I was there, I went out and I was having a cigarette. And I was talking to my fiance on the phone. And all of a sudden I could hear whack, whack, whack. But it was a heavy thud. It was obviously something that was wooden hitting something wood. So I thought, okay, that's kind of weird, but it did it like 3 times and then it stopped. So my fiance's like, well, I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there cutting wood or something. So a couple hours later, every time I'd go out there within 10 or 15 minutes of sitting out there, I would hear that whacking noise, that tree knock. So I had been there for a week, every day for a week. I'd hear it several times a day. Somebody had put up like a rabbit trap up in the woods just over the little knoll. And I heard something that night and I thought it caught something. So I wanted to go up and say, I'm a hunter by, nature. I love to hunt. And I thought, well, I'll see what they got up there, So I walked up there and the trap is ripped out. The anchor is ripped out and nothing. There's nothing in it. But the next day the cage was back. But it was kind of manhandled, we'll say, if that makes sense. Well, this goes on all week. The second to the last day I'm there, I hadn't been down to the end of the peninsula where the creek levels out. And so I got my sweet tea and I'm wandering around down there and I hear that whack noise again. I hear the tree knocks. Before I could say anything, I had my fiance on speakerphone. She heard it and she was like, I hear it. So I started looking, and when you come across the creek, there's an embankment, and I was looking at the embankment, and I'm scanning through the woods, and I can see something. There was like a limb that came off, and then it dropped down like the sag underneath a big person's arms, that kind of a, limb. And I could see something black, and it's got like its paw or whatever. I mean, it's probably 100 yards away from me. But I can see it, and its arm is or its leg or whatever it was stuck over the top of it, and it was looking in my direction, but it was just one black mass. So right away, I thought, okay, it's a bear. There's a lot of bear up here. It's probably a bear. So I moved around, I found a couple marks and prints in the dirt and on the gravel. And I told Susan, I said, I got to go. I'm going to go up and see what this is. Well, I was out there in a pair of flip-flops with no belt on. So I went in the house, I grabbed my sidearm, I grabbed my belt and put boots on, and off into the woods I go, and I'm looking for that limb, and I found it. Well, as I got a little closer to it, I'm like, okay, it was a bear, because it looked like it was like 4 feet over the top of the grass. And I was like, yep, it was a bear. So I started walking up just to see if there was any trail or, any sign. But when I got there, the limb wasn't over the top of that. That was the crest of the hill in front of the tree. So when I got there, the tree was actually like 15, 20 feet away from that. So it was an optical illusion. I'm 6'2". I went over there. I would have had to have it was easily, I would say, I couldn't reach it to be in the same position. I would have had to have had at least a 3 or 4 step ladder to get up to that point to put my arm over the top of that branch, that elbow in the branch. Now, again, I would love to say I saw one and the track was there. I mean, all the grass was knocked down, but there were no imprints. It wasn't mucky or rainy but the grass, you could see where it had been walking around the tree, and I think it was watching me. And then it went back up into the woods. So I can't say that I had a Bigfoot experience, but I feel like I did. But until I can definitively say, if I would have seen that face up closer, or if I would have seen something where I could make more of a distinguishing. Because, I mean, you look at a bear when they're standing up, they look very human.
Oh, sure.
You know, they have that look. So that was my possible Sasquatch
Wow,
story.
it's really close, faceless, to an encounter. I mean, extremely close. You said upstate New York. Are you able to share like any
It was,
other location areas or?
I know I was above the Finger Lakes. It was a couple of years ago, and I can't remember the name of the town. I probably
Okay,
got it in one of my logs. I drive people places. I drive the
gotcha.
Amish community. So I
Oh,
know that
cool.
I'd have been in Canada. That's how close to the Canadian border I was.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, I've got if you go on my if you go on my page, it's
Uh-huh.
the very first video that I posted. You'll see the embankment I'm talking about, but I couldn't get
Okay.
my camera to focus or lock or do anything. But that gives you an idea what I was looking over to look across what I thought was the flat ground. So
That's
unfortunately,
fantastic.
yeah, I lost my other account. I had 20,000 followers, and I had the rest of the video on there where you can kind of see the bear or the Bigfoot or whatever.
Oh, no way.
But yeah, TikTok took that account down because somebody was I know who it was. They were stalking me,
Right.
but
Yeah, yeah.
that one still had on my
Oh,
phone,
man.
so I put it on the list when I started this account. But that gives you an
What?
idea of what I was looking over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a really interesting account of something that could definitely be close to it. Or do you mind if I potentially use this conversation for a Bigfoot podcast I have?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, cool, man.
I wish I could say that I saw one. I would love to see one. I don't dismiss the fact that there very well could be. You know, you look at the history, you look at the cultures around the world, you know, from Yetis to, you know, the swamp man to the stink apes, and there's just so many different things. And in the indigenous, you look at the indigenous stories and they're out there, but they're portrayed in a totally different light. So these things don't just happen amongst cultures that don't have connection. So logically, I know that there probably is something resembling this, what you have behind you, but until I see one, I can't say.
Absolutely. Oh, man. Well,
What's the name
what a name of my podcast is Bigfoot Society. So if you want to listen, I do an episode every day. I talk to people about their encounters. It's on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts. So
Okay. Yeah,
cool.
I was flipping through and I saw it and I was like, all right, I'm going to check this out. So,
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you came up. Thank you so much for chatting.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. Bring some light to it. Maybe we'll find some actually good footage out there somewhere.
Heck yeah. I will. Thank you, man.
All right, you take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. If you'd like to take part in these lives, you can follow the Bigfoot Society podcast on TikTok under bigfoot.society. We usually go live, if we're going to go live, about 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So hope to see you there. It's a good time. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. Some of the accounts cannot be put on here. So you might even hear stuff that you won't hear anywhere else. Make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And please take a minute to share this episode or an episode that's your favorite with a friend and give us a 5-star positive review and rating, as it really helps the show grow. If you haven't taken a look yet, head over to www.bigfootsocietypodcast.com. We have a brand new membership community. It's where you can get benefits such as a exclusive episode just for members every week, ad-free and early release episodes, ways for the community to hang out. We watch a movie together every month. We hang out in a Zoom call and talk about. So there's a lot of stuff I talk about that I don't put out on the show. It's kind of like a inner circle type thing. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. Again, it's bigfootsocietypodcast.com and click on the members login. We'll see you there. Thanks for listening, and see you in the woods.